Hey, everybody, this is Tim Shaw. Welcome back to the Black Cat Lounge. Thank you for everybody coming and stopping in. I love it because it's just a wonderful, wonderful, makes me feel great that you guys stop in on a Tuesday evening and we can go and we can all share. We can all share it. And hey, Deidre, how are you? Hi, Jim, how are you? And I got to tell you guys, my guest today and we were invited to speak at WitchCon. And the WitchCon is traditionally, it takes place in New Orleans. And unfortunately, with everything that was going on in the world, there's no way that we could do that. So everything was done remotely. I just got to tell you something. First off, guys, 3 days. 3 days. Hey, guys, how are you? I see Chris. I see Aida, Tracy, and Lori in the room. It's fantastic. But 3 days of unbelievable lectures. And because my guest and I were speaking, we got a chance to watch them. And of course, music was provided. Drumming was provided by the Dragon Ritual drummers, my good friend Witch Doctor Atu. It was great. It was just a ball. And I stressed, don't get me wrong, I stressed because this is the big leagues. There were some big people that were speaking. And of course, with me, I mean, I'm sort of, well, whatever. I stress over everything. My wife will tell you that I'm one of those people that as many times as I do this stuff, hey, Lori, hi, Kathy. Hey, Ken, how are you doing? Doug, how are you? No matter how long I've been doing this, I still get stage fright. I really do. And I get miserable and I could throw up all the time. And it's just the way I am. So what can I tell you? Jason Marble's in the room. Jason, thank you so much. Let me show you what Jason gave me. Oops, upside down. Number 66, Jason. Look at that. Number 66 in the collection. And it's a glow in the dark. These are fun. These are fun to use. What I'm going to be using those, a lot of people ask me, why do you have so many boards? And I said, well, the reason I have so many boards is the fact that I go and I have all my older boards, my antique boards up on, in display. But the newer ones I use for classes. And I love that. I absolutely love being able to share. One time we did a seance class and, we brought the boards out. And I think I was able to have like 14 people, I think, were able to work with the boards. So that was great. Tony, how are you? Terry, hi. Sean, how are you? Carolyn Zimmerman, who has a great podcast, by the way. Look it up. Lori from Wildwood Sanitarium is here. How are you? But I had a ball. We had a ball, and it was just an amazing time for Hex, or I should say for WitchCon. But thank you, Jason, for that. And also, I got to show you guys something. One of my sponsors, not that I ask for anything, and I love all my sponsors because my sponsors are fantastic. But one of my sponsors, Wild Raven Candles, dropped off these candles, and she knows how to, most for guys, the quickest way to their heart is through their stomach. Well, these candles are a quick way to get into my heart right now. This is one of her newest candles, Seance. Isn't that cool? Look at that. That's pretty cool. That I love that. But here's the one I love the best. This is the one that just like makes me crazy. Look at this. Holy cow, man. Look at that. Ouija. So you know what? I'm not going to burn this candle until I start using, when we start teaching again and we start using the boards again. So this one's going in reserve. This one's definitely going in reserve. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. And we're all doing good here. I hope we had a warm day today. So I was out and about. There's a couple things that we're looking for out there in the world. And with any luck, we'll find them. And I can't say exactly what we're looking for right at this very, very time. But anyway, guys, I want to go and I want to bring in my guest tonight. I first met my guest tonight a few years ago, and we shared a common interest. And I didn't realize that they were building a museum around someone who I knew, the late Ray Buckland. And for you guys, we're going to talk about him and who he was, but he was a kind of a big influence on me, and he was such a wonderful person. He was just a great guy, and he, you know, he actually went and he faced religious persecution because of his beliefs in the craft. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, and I'm just going to go and I'm just going to show you a real quick picture. It's my favorite picture of Ray and I, and this was taken at the Knickerbocker Hotel, and this was right following a this was following an actual I had done a live radio show from the Knickerbocker Hotel, and he was kind enough to have that photo taken with me. And just a good guy, just a nice guy, and we can talk how I met him and everything. So in Cleveland, now people don't realize in Cleveland, it is a unique place. Cleveland is a unique place, and it's got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because, you know, we know that Cleveland rocks. We also know that it has the Christmas Story House. And the Christmas Story House is, well, it's where the exteriors for the Christmas story were actually taken. And the zoo is great, but they have a museum there that is so unusual that people really come from all over the world to see this. And they don't realize what a unique place this is. And I first saw it in its very first incarnation, and it was small, and it was in a little room off of this record shop, and it just blew my mind. It totally blew my mind away. And now it's in a larger space, and it's beautiful. So I want to bring on the curator of the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, my good friend. I love this guy to death, Steven Intermill. Steven, how are you, brother?
I'm doing really well. Feeling very awesome right now after the big lead up that you put in here, you know.
Well, you know what? You deserve it, because people don't realize, you know, Ray was a Renaissance man, and Ray had his own museum years ago. And my God,
first of its kind in the United States.
And to be able to carry that legacy on is, I'm going to be honest with you. You've got some broad shoulders, dude, because his legacy is like unbelievable. Oh, and my wife just said, I remember we brought our old dog in, Ebony. You allowed it, and she laid right in the middle. The energy was in that first room was just so good and everything. It was just so great. So let's just go and let's just kind of backtrack for people who may not know. And I will say that I'm kind of shocked, and we talked a little bit about this off the air. I'm kind of shocked that some people never heard of Raymond Buckland, you know, and that to me, if you're in paranormal circles, if you're in, you know, if you're kind of on the edge of the craft, if you're kind of on the edge of things, you really should know who the hell this guy is. So, Steven, let everybody know who he was, because he to me, he was one of the most fascinating people I've ever met in my life.
Well, I would say he was a superstar in a really small subsect of society, being the person that brought the religion of Wicca to America. And actually, here's a photo of him at our opening at the old location, the one that you wandered into. Ray, you know, he was, I guess, early American Wiccan. He was also a spiritualist since he was a kid, always an explorer of what's just across the realm, and just a really, really nice, gentle, generous person. I saw my partner in the museum, Tony, is chiming in. She had left a comment, so I know that she's watching right here. She knew Ray a lot better than I did, but she would agree that he was just an extraordinary person with an open heart. But some of the accomplishments were, you know, early member of like what we refer to as modern Wicca, early spiritualist picture of me with Ray there. Oh, what a cool guy. He was a spiritualist explorer that he was also he was a great writer. He wrote, I think it was like 55 books was the number I saw. But most famous is a book called The Complete Book of Witchcraft. Now it's 55th printing, over 500,000 copies in print. And it's really fun with that book because my guests come into the museum, they see the copy of it. And a lot of times there's this emotional reaction, right? Where they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that book. A couple of weeks ago, somebody came in, told me a story I did not like to hear. They told me this elaborate story about how they shoplifted it from the B. Dalton down the street. When they were 15, I was like, yeah, come on. Keep an eye on you in the gift shop, right? But then I have other guests that see it, and they're like, that's the book. That's the book that changed my life because, like maybe their mom figured out that they were getting into witchcraft. They have a big to-do. They show up the next day with this book from Borders. And, it gets really dusty in the room at that point when I hear these stories. You know what I mean? But then, so Ray, total legend.
It was so funny because, and I know you know the story, but I knew the name. I had his books. I knew the name. And he was a big spiritualist. And he taught at the Lilydale Assembly here in Western New York for years. And I'll always remember I'm sitting on the porch of the Maplewood Hotel, and I'm kind of sitting there rocking away, just minding my own business. And this short guy came up because he wasn't really, tall in stature, but he was really like unbelievable. I mean, he was just like powerful. And he sat next to me, and we struck up a conversation, and he talked about how he, what it was like living through the Blitz in World War II. I was totally fascinated. And it was nothing esoteric, it's nothing spiritually related. And he says, oh, I've got a class. And I'm thinking he's taking a class. And he gets up and he walks away and he goes over to the assembly hall. And a guy from a couple chairs down, because there's a lot of little rocking chairs, he walks up to me and he goes, dude, do you know who that was? And I said, no. I mean, just a nice little man that came up, thick shock of hair, gray beard. He goes, that was Ray Buckland. I said, no. He goes, yeah. And you know what? It was so great because after that, he always remembered who I was. We always, we had dinner together. We would get a chance to hang out. I got a chance to pick his brain. And he was just one of the most giving people I've ever met. What a trailblazer he was, wasn't he?
Yeah. Absolutely. And one thing I always think is kind of funny about Ray is one of the things is people that don't like his book, Big Blue, they're always like, well, Ray's idea was it's his way or the highway. And I don't get that at all because in our archives, we have, I think it's like a 90-minute cassette series of his lectures where he explained from the bottom up how to create your own tradition of witchcraft.
Right.
Which I thought was I listened to it, and there was this moment when I was listening to it, because I always knew that Ray was like a complete genius. But I was listening to it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy was operating at a higher level than me or probably the majority of people that I've ever met in my life. So yeah, Ray, he was something special. Or, well, I should probably say that he is something special because as spiritualists, you and he believe that, the energy continues on, correct?
Exactly. I mean, we just change forms. That's it. And it sounds like Ray might be trying to knock on your window there.
There's always a lot of action.
It's all part of it. It's all part of it. But what amazed me about Ray, and when we got a chance to talk about his early days, and when he was searching, now he followed Gerald Gardner and learned from and Gardner went out there and Gardner was looking for any kind of vestige of the old ways, of the old craft in England. Everything had been stomped away and there was nothing. It was swept from the land, one of those things. And Gardner actually found all these little pockets. And that to me was fascinating. And how Gardner adapted what he found and then was able to teach Ray. And then Ray brought it here to the United States, and he went and put his mark on it and brought it here. And then he ended up going and developing another tradition. That's why anybody that says it's his way or the highway, I have to disagree with them too, because of the fact that Ray was one of these guys that believed, listen, don't do your own thing, do the right thing, but just because I do it this way doesn't mean that you have to.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about him.
Yeah, he definitely understood the importance of putting your own mark on things, which that's the beauty of being involved with something that's non-fundamentalist, right? There's always room for your own personal growth. So Ada Severini says, when did he pass away? He passed away about 4 years ago in 2017. And it was just a very sad day. The museum had been open for about 4 months when this happened. We had a lot of questions still.
Right.
For things. Oh, yeah, I was, Ray, why'd you go so soon? But you go when you go, right? When it's
Ray always had he had heart problems. I always remember that. Yeah. One of the funniest stories I always tell people about Ray was he used to fly. And he was in his 70s and he was still flying. Yeah. And what a Renaissance man he was. And I remember we were sitting there at dinner and he said to me, he goes, I can't fly anymore. And I'm going, Ray, you're still flying? And I think it was a biplane. I think he was using a biplane at the time. And he goes, yeah, Tara won't let me after my last open heart surgery. I was like, I almost spit out my food. I said, Ray, are you kidding? No, he goes, he was a little, perturbed about it, but he respected it. That's what's so great about Ray.
Well, last time I saw Ray was in a dream, maybe a day or two after he passed away. I was sitting there, fell asleep on my couch, and I had this dream that I was at his farm in rural Ohio. He had a garage that he kept things in, and I had a dream that Ray had brought me out there along with his friend Bill. He asked us to move his plane out of the garage into the driveway. Ray said, thank you very much. He got in, started it, and he was like, I'll be right back. He goes into the house. He gets his wife, Tara, out. She comes out. He gives her a kiss and a hug. He tells Bill and I that I'll see us soon. He puts on his goggles, gets in the plane, and takes off. And that was cool. It was a nice goodbye. Because think about this. This was early on in, us operating the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft, right? And let's face it, my name is always going to be attached, or Ray's name is always going to be attached to my name forever going forward, And, maybe it was my brain processing the information, or perhaps it was Ray standing by and saying, I'm going to be around.
I'm going to tell you what, Stephen, I'm a firm believer that was Ray saying goodbye, because it was that was just Ray. I mean, that was Ray right to the core. I mean, whether he was flying the plane or putting together a car, or he learned welding so he could build something from the ground up. The guy was amazing. Now, early on in tell everybody about his early career. It was kind of wild when he first came here. And he was hidden. He had actually was building up a small following, and everything was still hidden. But it was sort of like it wasn't really too kosher at the time. And
well, right. Yeah. I mean, it's witchcraft. It's not kosher now. I had
yeah,
somebody yell at me the other day saying that you witches are destroying everything. And I was like, okay, I guess, sure. You're all right. Can
exactly.
I help you anyway? But so Ray, when he came to America, there was no organized witchcraft in the United States at that point. I mean, sure, there's always been covens, there's always been witches, but Ray being the person that brought what we consider Wicca to the United States, it wasn't really happening. So he forms a small coven in Long Island, and the thing is when we first opened our museum here, and I tell a story every time my intro, I say, hey, Ray, did you have this kind of reaction when you opened your place in Long Island? Because, we had about 300 guests at our opening, lined down the street. I was like, Ray, did you have this reaction? He goes, well, Steven, many people enjoyed it, but shortly after, someone set my car on fire.
Yep.
I think that's a really important thing to remember, because a lot of people think that it's, people learn witchcraft from TikTok now, which
Yes, I know. I know.
No, I have zero, I think it's wonderful that there's all these avenues for ways for people to gain information now. But 50 years ago, there wasn't TikTok to learn witchcraft from. So it had to be very, very underground. And so he built his following, and it just kind of spread from there. Ray was never shy of publicity. We have a lot of really wonderful newspaper articles in the archives. But in every article, there's always this projection of almost where they're trying to throw this like Christian shame upon him. Like,
right.
When you're witchcraft out there, and Ray always took it in stride, from what I could understand. It's my understanding that Ray realized there really is no bad publicity, but sometimes you really have to kind of roll with the punches, though, when maybe things don't go quite as planned. I mean, they set his car on fire.
No. Well, I love the story he told me about one day. He goes, he's sitting in his house, and all of a sudden he hears all these kids, and these kids are walking up and down in front of his house singing, from the Wizard of Oz, "Ding dong, the witch is dead." And I said, well, Ray, what did you do? He goes, I just went. I had the album from the Wizard of Oz. I put it on. He says, I played it as loud as I could, and I started marching with them. I thought that was but that's what Ray. That's the person that Ray was.
Yeah,
he was. Oh my God! Yeah, what a great guy. But he was. And I always call him a Renaissance man, Steven. You know that, because he just wasn't like one-dimensional.
No,
I mean, he would go out there, and who was the actor that he was friends with? He was a great horror. Who is it?
John Carradine.
John Carradine, right? And he had done script writing, and he had done all this stuff, and that to me was always an amazing. I guess that's the mettle of a person, because he can do all these things well. And he was one of those people that could do that. It was a wonderful thing. Did he ever tell you about when they were doing a ritual in his basement and the mattress caught fire?
Yeah. Why don't you tell the story? Because he told the story to Tony once, and I've never heard your version of it, but I want to hear it.
Well, this is, again, this is when I'm first getting to know him, and delightful. I just love, he was one of those people that if you could sit him down for, hours, please just go and just tell me everything, that's what type of a person he was. And so he says, we're in my basement and we're all sky clad. He says, we're doing this ritual sky clad, which is
guy for those people that don't know.
Yeah. Just everybody was naked. And he goes, well, I had this old furnace. He goes, and there was a mattress up against the wall. And what happened was there was a backfire. The flames actually shot out of the furnace, which I know it can happen because it's happened in my house in one of our old furnaces where all of a sudden we heard a boom and flames actually came out of the side of the furnace. Well, it was next to this mattress. The mattress caught on fire. He goes, all of a sudden, he goes, somebody calls the fire department. Nobody's thinking. He goes, all these naked people go running outside. He goes, and then we realized what happened. I thought that was probably one of the most funniest stories that he ever could have told us.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine being the neighbor, right? And,
oh my gosh. I think my neighbors now are starting to get used to me. I think if I did that, they would probably just say, well, okay. The new neighbors anyway, my new neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh, but I love it. Hey, listen, we're going to take a real short break, a 30-second break to pay some bills, and we're going to be right back. And you're listening to the Black Cat Lounge here on Facebook Live. And my guest today is Steven Intermill. I love this guy. He's my buddy from Cleveland. He's curator of the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. And I want everybody to go and just during this 30 seconds, pull your damn phones out, and I want you to Google it so this way you know where it is and you go visit this summer. The Black Cat Lounge is brought to you by Paranormal Oddities, the little store with the big heart. Patronus Photographic, fine art, photography, and design. Nancy's Sewing Room, aprons, masks, and handmade purses. And Wild Raven, hand-poured candles for those magical times. And we're back at the Black Cat Lounge. And our guest tonight, my good friend Steven, we're talking about one of my favorite people in the entire world, Raymond Buckland. Steven, baby, welcome back.
So your wife is the sponsor for your show?
Hey, nepotism always works, buddy. I'm telling you. It was like I was, just kind of, these are my friends, and it's my idea of sponsorship, Steven, is like I don't charge anybody for anything. Just come on. And she goes, my wife goes, what about me? I said, oh, oops, okay, you're in.
There really is room for Nan. That's awesome.
But yeah. You have to, nepotism never hurts.
No, it's not in these kind of situations. So
no, it's we always have more than enough for everybody.
The next time you met Ray, you told us a story about the first time you met Ray. Tell us about the next time you saw him.
Well,
were you just like, we're buddies now, I'm just gonna go hang out with this guy?
Well, all I'm gonna tell you is this.
Yeah.
Walking from the assembly hall. I had taken a class in something, and I'm walking through the assembly hall, and in comes this black, luminous Corvette. Yeah. This Corvette was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Comes flying in, comes in, and out pops Raymond Buckland. Hair perfect.
So did he just park it wherever the hell he wanted?
He found a parking spot, and I don't know how the hell he found a parking spot because it's limited. It's very limited there. Usually he pulled it into a guy's garage, but he parked it there, gets out, and all I'm going to tell you is I've never seen so many women lose their minds. It was like, the best way I can describe it, it was like the dude was his rock star. He could have been, and he gets out, and I mean, they just went, I felt sorry for him, they just went. Next thing I know, somebody's carrying his suitcase, somebody's carrying his box of books, somebody's carrying this, and they're walking into the Maplewood. I think he was staying there at the time.
Yeah.
He was a character. I just loved the hell out of him. He was a character.
Yeah, he really was. Just somebody from another generation. It's just, I don't think
another time
like Raymond Buckland like that anymore. And that's something that I like to convey in our tours is he's like a one generation type of guy. Like, I mean, he was an expert about everything. And, we have the notebooks, we have the information, and very well studied, very well researched.
Unbelievable, yes.
And you could
Did I
ask.
ever tell you, Stephen, when I did the interview with him, I did the live on air interview.
Okay.
Where we're sitting there, and I got my setup and we're broadcasting live. I think it was on CBS. I think we were broadcasting. And I said, Ray, and I was, very respectful of him. I didn't, this is the way I would work.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I'm going to give you the questions so that you're prepared for it.
He's like, no, I'm good.
It was pretty much, but I'm going to be honest with you. I was in awe of the fact that he was going to sit down and have this, I don't know, 45-minute interview with him. And so I said it, I told him all the questions. I have always had 12 questions set up. I have no questions set up because we know each other too well. But with Ray, I would, I didn't want to go and I didn't want to look like an idiot. Yeah. So I went, gave him the 12 questions. Green light, ready to go, all set to go. Today we have blah, 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 Ray Buckland, blah, blah, blah. Ray, tell me about this. He answered all 12 questions in 15 minutes. I couldn't believe he was able to interwind every answer to make sense. And it was just like, boom. I thought to myself, now what the hell do I do? I didn't know. Luckily, luckily I had books with me. So as we're talking, I could spin the book and I could get a passage and read it quick and then ask him about it. But he was very generous with his time all the time. Very, very generous. He was just a great guy, but he was funny and he had a wicked sense of humor. Oh my God. Did he ever raise that eyebrow and just kind of look over at somebody and that he's laughing inside about something that they did. And then later on he'll go, oh, he'll go, did you see that? And he'll go, and he'll go, well, he must be what, 35? Oh, my back. He would say stuff like that and you would just cry because he was just so dry at it. It was great.
He had a really good dry sense of humor. I met him at one of his comedy nights. That's the first time I met him face to face was in Millersburg, Ohio. He would do these comedy nights every 6 months.
Amazing.
As a fundraiser to try to raise money for the local bookmobile to his local library system. And very funny, entertaining person. It's my understanding that he used to write. His first writing gig was writing jokes for some comedy duo back in the 50s in London. And he just kind of went from there. So, yeah.
Did you ever hear the story about the land of Mu, M-U? Did you ever hear that story?
Yes. Not really. Tony Earl.
I went and I have a copy of that book. Yes. I have a copy here. And Land of Mu. And we're all talking one day, and there was a couple of us, I think I had taken a class, and there was, of course, you can't help but just hang around them. And he says, well, I was never always quite honest. What? I mean, we're just like, what? And he goes, well, early on, I needed to go and make some money.
Yeah.
So I went and I wrote this book, The Land of Mu. And it was just a phenomenal thing. It was hysterical. And it was, I couldn't help but laugh because he said, listen, Tim, I got to tell you, I made the whole thing up. It's a nonfiction, but I made the whole thing up. Do you know that everybody I know, and I never got my copy autograph, but everybody I know went on eBay that night and bought up every copy of that, a little paperback. Yeah. And the next time we all got together, he signed it, and I forget what his pen name was, but that's what he put it on. Yes.
Not really.
What a great guy. I mean, and that's what I think is. Oh my God! And to me, that's what means the most. And I think that's what it means most. Well, you know what, we're talking about Ray, and we're reminiscing about hanging out with Ray, and it does, and I'll be honest with you, it does bring a tear to my eye, because I miss him, and I remember when he passed away, I just felt empty inside. But let's talk about the museum. Why did you think that it was so important to resurrect the Ray's museum? Because I know he had the collection, then he sold the whole collection off. Then he was I think he was piecing it back together from what he could get. And why did you feel that it was so important to preserve this and his legacy and bring it out?
Well, so I was working for a place down the street from our original location. I was working very hard there. It was very great. I liked it, etc. But I just got burnt out doing this thing for somebody else. And then I was sitting there. So it was a tourist destination here in the Cleveland area. Tim mentioned it earlier. That's the clue I'll give you on what it is. But one day I was just like, I'd rather do something on my own. And I thought, what would you rather do, Steven? I was like, well, I'd rather spread witchcraft to the masses. And I remembered reading Ray's book, The Complete Book of Witchcraft, when I was working at Walden Books back in my 20s. And there's a line where he mentions owning the first museum of witchcraft in the United States. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to email this guy, see what's up. Just randomly. Why would I do this? So it turns out Ray lives in Ohio. The collection's in Columbus. It's the woman that's now my partner in the museum's attic, Tony's place. Everything spirals out of control. Here we are. If I had known that this was going to just take over my life, I still would have done it anyway. Of course, there's nothing that could have stopped it really at that point. But, more than anything, I do this. It makes me very happy to be able to share this with the world. And I've spent years just not really enjoying what I do. So now I'm just really, really basking in the energy of being able to wake up every day, go to work, and do something that I love. And
the people that you meet, Steven, the people,
incredible.
You bring in, you brought in Oberlin Zell, and that was like, I was just blown away by that, because I've known him. I've known of him for years, and he was one of the seminal people from. Yeah, you brought him in. Yeah, exactly. Well, here, let me put a picture of the front of the building up, because right here, this is the outside of the building, and I'll tell you what, it's fantastic, you guys. It's a wonderful place, and it's got everything that you could think of in there. Not just Ray's stuff, but there's so many other things. And one of the things that people ask me about all the time, because we talked about it before, that when Boleskine House out in Loch Ness in Scotland burned, that had been a place where Aleister Crowley had lived and had done unbelievable spells and crazy stuff. And of course, Jimmy Page lived there too. But I couldn't believe when I looked up when I stopped in to see the new museum, and this is what I saw on the wall.
Yeah.
I was like, and I got to ask you, was that part of Ray's collection? These pieces that belonged to Crowley?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ray was well connected in the occult world. And, the proof is in the pudding of what we have on display here. Somebody asked, isn't it weird that we would have Aleister Crowley pieces on display here? But it's like one of those weird things about Wicca is a lot of people aren't always so excited to talk about this, but Aleister Crowley was definitely an influence on Gerald Gardner.
Right.
In the creation of what we use as Wicca was essentially from Gardner taking classes from Crowley. And Tony, my partner in the museum, I'm always bugging her to let me see the letters, but she has letters from a guy named Cecil Williamson who had a museum with Gardner. And in those museums, it's really fun because he's just like, and then I used to always have to take Gardner to his magic classes from Aleister Crowley. That was annoying. So
that's, oh my God, that's an awesome story. Oh my God, I never knew that. That's fantastic. Yeah. I didn't know Gardner took classes from Crowley. That's interesting to know.
And if you study this stuff enough, you're going to see that there is definitely Crowley has an influence on that. And Ray understood that really early on. I think before that was really part of like the public discourse on it.
Right.
And so it makes only sense that he would have wanted Crowley pieces represented in here.
I agree.
Tony and I were of the mindset Ray quit collecting in the mid-'70s. So we're always looking for new pieces to kind of continue the conversation because a lot has happened in the craft in the last 40 years or so.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And we're always looking for just new added pieces to continue the story. And I know that Ray would be proud of that. It's he understood that as well, but he had, by the time he quit collecting, his writing career was taking off, his lecturing was taking off, and this became an aside. So,
but yeah, he was a Renaissance man. And he always evolved, and that's what I loved about him. He always evolved, and he always I won't say he always succeeded with what he was doing, but I will say that he knew what he would set a goal and he would conquer it. Yeah. And along the way, he did it with panache, kid. He was great. Here, let me show you let me show everybody just one wall. I have a bunch of pictures, but I can't, there's just too many of them to put up. But this is one of the walls of the Buckland Museum. And if you look closely, everything's jammed in there. There is so much. It is amazing. And I can't believe what you have there.
That view now is much more cluttered, Tim. You gotta
oh, I love it.
You gotta come see it now.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I told you off air. Once I get my shots, I'm coming down, man. I miss seeing you guys. I miss going into the museum. Now I have a photo of a divot box that you can tell the story. I'm gonna show everybody, and then you can tell the story about this and the guy that came in that wanted to open it. Because I remember Ray telling me about this box, and he never told me anything more. He just said he had it and how he kind of magically. Well, I'll let you tell the story. And here, this is the box that we're talking about.
Oh yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah, so that's Ray's box. He'd call me on the phone. He'd be like, "Steven, don't open the damn box." And I'm not going to open the box. So the story I heard is he was hanging out, and one day one of his friends called him up. "Hey, man, come to the Lower East Side or the West Village in New York City. Let's hang out." So he goes down to this guy's place. It's a 5-story walk up. He goes to the top. His friend closes the door. He's just like, "Hey, man, yeah, there's another reason why I called you here. I conjured something and I can't get rid of it." And Buckland was like, "Hey, man, not my demon, not my problem. I got to go." And his friend begs him. He's like, "Hey, man, I lost my job. I lost my wife. I'm about to lose my apartment." Ray's like, "Oh, no, not your apartment. I will help you." He goes back to Long Island. He gets a collection of grimoires, occult texts that he just collected. Brings them back. They get to work. He said it took about 3 days when they were convinced that the entity was in the box. They seal it with the incantations and some framing wires so the lid doesn't just pop open. And he takes it home and puts it on his shelf as a trophy. By far my least favorite piece in the collection. It's caused a lot of problems since then. Tony and I talk about it, and we're like, it kind of has to always be on display, because you take it off display, you put it in a room, you don't look at it, who knows what happens to it. It's like, you keep that VIP treatment, right, where you can keep an eye on it at all times. I had some weird kids in here today that were getting really weird about it, and one guy was trying to distract me while the other one was trying to figure out ways to and I'm very well experienced with the effect that it has on people in here. So, obviously I realized what was going on pretty quickly. I've been physically assaulted due to it. People have tried to open it. They've shoved me as they try to open the display cases that it's been in. Yeah, not my favorite piece. And
it's an amazing piece, though.
Yeah, well, interesting piece, but man, when I met Ray, the first words out of his mouth, because Tony had brought it up when we met at the at his comedy night, right? Tony, she had brought it up from Columbus, and she kind of presented it as Ray, here's the box. And he was just like, "Oh, this is your problems now."
Oh my God! As someone who goes and collects haunted objects and Ouija boards and that sort of thing, believe me, first of all, I understand the fascination.
Yeah,
that people, when I have my stuff out, I'm forever telling people, don't touch it. I'll touch it because I've kind of bound it, and everything's bound, everything is cleansed, but it doesn't mean that it's safe for other people. Don't touch it. And I always find it fascinating that people want to come in there and rip it open. Didn't somebody offer you money to open it?
Well, Ray calls me on the phone and he goes, "Steven, I was scrying and I saw an image of somebody offering you a significant amount of money to open the box." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." You got to understand, that wasn't before. This was back in the days when we were not a well-established tourist destination in the Cleveland area, right? So somebody comes in and they're like, "Hey, I want to give you $100 to open the box." And I was just like, $100? Ray said significant. Get out of here. And eventually it was like 200 and 400. Then he wanted me to put $1,000 on his American Express card. And I was like, that sounds like a chargeback to me. Plus, I'm very strict with things like sales tax, etc. So
right.
Is this taxable? Who do I pay the tax to? Is it an admission tax? Is it sales tax? Get out of here.
People are like that. I had people come up, and I've got some I got some unusual things. I remember you telling Nicole, I don't know, I don't know if I'd want what he has in his basement in the museum, which, by the way, I'm telling you right now, Steven, I will bring a piece up for you. It'll be nice and all.
Okay.
It'll be all benign for you, but I'll bring it up for you, and it's got quite a pedigree for it, so you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
That's a little gift. That's a little gift from me to you guys, and it'll be like this. You'll be calling me up, and I'm going, "Steven, not my problem anymore." give it a little corn mush. It'll calm down. But yeah, it's a great thing, and I got to show everybody a photo of one of the walls, and this is this wall, and if they're talking boards. There is a board. It's called the Swami board. It is above the black circular board, and I absolutely fell in love with that, Steven. When the first time I saw it, when it was in the old museum, and then when I came to see it again, and you know what? I sent it out there and I said, I want that board. And, within 2 weeks, I had that board. It is a beautiful board. I love it. It's so unique looking. Now, Ray designed his own board.
The planchette of that board, though, that's the
finger.
That's the interesting part of it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Now, Ray, when we were talking about boards together one day, he said to me that he loved what he did was he went and he did a round board like the old. Now, I remember as a kid all the old round boards that they had back then, and he says because the one that arc the fold Canuck, I can never say it. Connect, I can never say the guy's name. Board, which looks like what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that flow of motion. Yeah. And the other thing is the modern planchets all have the little holes in them with the little pin. The earlier planchets didn't. They were all pointers, and he had like this star pointer. Yeah. And he goes, this way it was easier to work with. And I have one of his boards here, and it's probably, it's really special. And I love working with that board. So he was always ahead of his time, man. He was always ahead of his time.
Well, Ray really liked the circular boards. And I think it had to do with the idea in England, right? He's a kid, he's experimenting with the boards. And you have your tables, right? And you have everybody around them.
Yes.
So like this is something that's pretty much due north for everybody that looks at it, right? So it's not like the traditional board where if somebody's over here, they're looking at it differently than the person over here. So can you pull that picture up again?
Absolutely. There we go.
So do you see right below where it says Mystic Moodoo?
Yes.
That was another one of Ray's boards.
Oh, I didn't know that he made that one. I didn't know he created that one.
Yeah, and also the one to the right. That's also one of Ray's boards.
I see that. I did not know that.
He was always experimenting with the round boards, and it's kind of one of his things.
That's amazing. Now I learned something. I learned something again, and I didn't even come to Cleveland. Yeah. What can I say? What can I say? Hey, I don't want to keep you all night because I know you've been at the museum all day and everything. Yeah. So, but I just want to. I always remember. I mean, Ray was just one of those guys that he would. What a teacher he was. Yeah. I think one of my favorites.
One thing is. I think he should always be remembered as a teacher,
I agree.
He took the information and always wanted to just put it back.
He taught, I took his class he's got a book out called Solitary Seance. And I have to tell you that I stole so much of his teaching style from that class of Solitary Seance than any other instructor I've ever worked with and assimilated into my teaching. But what was amazing to me was the first time, and again, a round board, but was the alphabet wheel that we used a pendulum on, and how to use it and how to make that into a communication board. I had never seen that. Now, I've been kicking around since I was like 1972, Steven. 1972. That's how old I am. Thank you. That's when I first was introduced into Lilydale. I'll get my walker and I'll take my teeth out so I can go and gum dinner later. But it was, and I've seen pendulum workers and I've worked with dowsers and everybody else. That was amazing. And I watched that and he was just amazing. The other thing that he taught was scrying. And what I loved about what he did was he took it down to its very, very basic component. And he just passed out a little black felt pad and he had a little center spot. And he taught how to do it. And you know what? that's how I teach people to this day. And I always credit Ray for teaching me how to scry in that manner. And he's just an amazing person. Amazing person.
Now, 6 years from now, whenever the hell this pandemic's over, are you going to come and teach a scrying class at the Buckland Museum? Dude,
I'll tell you what. Get on my website, check out my classes. It's like a Chinese menu. You can take 3 from column A and 1 from column B. I'll teach anything. Once this is over, I'll come down and I'll teach anything for you guys, because I believe I'm just telling you, people out there, you guys got to go and you've got to see this museum. If you have any interest at all in witchcraft, to traditional witchcraft, all sorts of things, whatever you're interested in, you've got to come and you've got to see this. This is not, and we're always laughing, this is not Harry Potter, people. So don't come walking in with a cape and your little wand. This is hardcore stuff, man. And that's what is that who was at the door?
So I always laugh because there's these fundamentalists that drive by the place, and sometimes they'll yell at my guests, say, "Hey, do you think you're Harry Potter? Or are you Harry Potter?" And my smart guests, the ones that are really on the ball, always yell back, "Harry Potter wants to be us." So.
That is amazing. I love it. I just so love it. I love it. And Aida posted in here, this was an endearing and lovely tribute to Ray Buckland. Thank you for this show. Yeah, I figured she would really, out of anybody, she would really enjoy this show. Now, since we're getting to the end of the show now, Steven, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where they can find information about you. And you know what? And I was going to say upcoming events, but you have other stuff going on. You have galleries and, paintings and all sorts. So what's going on at the museum right now?
So right now we have a really fantastic show going on. It is called Transmutations, Witches, Healers, Oracles. It was curated by the Stephen Romano Gallery, New York City. What we did is take 4 of the best witchcraft photographers going right now. We took our dear friend Kristen Solier, her text. We meshed it together. We threw in some vintage witchcraft photography. Think William Mortensen. We blended it all together, and we have this show. It's fantastic. It's going on for the next month and a half. Do not miss this show if you have an interest in things that are cool. Like just anything that is cool, you will like this show. Over on my other wall, because this was supposed to be in our rotating gallery space, which is a black wall, but then I decided to move it into a smaller room where it's much more intimate. Well, I had this wall of fill. So the Cleveland Museum of Art has a show going on right now. It's called Stories from Storage. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to take some of my cool stuff from storage. I'm going to throw it on the wall, but we're going to call it, I don't know, Mysteries of Storage. I don't know. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but it's very cool. I have things from Rosalie Norton, Barry William Hale. I have a couple pieces by my absolute favorite, a guy named Michael Bertio, a mystic from Chicago. So we have that. So visit our website, bucklandmuseum.org. You can find it right here, scrolling down below. Find us on Instagram. You want to talk to me? Send me a message. I love to hear from people. I love to talk about this stuff with people. I mean, this is my life passion. And other than that, hey.
Also, you have a video cast too. Yes. Tell everybody about that, because yours truly was on it, and I was so thrilled to be on. You know what? I'm like a little kid. I'm like a fanboy, Steven. I'm going to tell you that. And when you asked me to be on the show, I was like, oh my God, yes.
We finish up now. Let's just go live on that one. I don't know. So it's pretty irregular, but I'm pretty excited. Tony Cale, he's a writer on West Memphis Hoodoo is kind of his big thing. Hoodoo traditions. Supposedly there's a box hurtling through time and space right now, heading to my doorstep that contains a donation of hoodoo artifacts, powders, oils, etc., that he has collected over the time. And when that's here, we're going to have them on the stream. It's probably going to be the next few days, maybe a week or so. So just, hey, here's an idea. Everybody watching, go over the Facebook page, Buckland Museum, or I think it's facebook.com, Witch Museum, where the kids say in the video, smash the like buttons, give it a like or whatever. Go do that, and you'll be notified about all this stuff. Frank Kupka says, need to take a road trip. Frank, you do. And definitely make sure that you tell us that you're a friend of Tim. Friend of Tim, because I love this guy.
Every time I love when people go and say, oh, we went there. And when I told Steven I was from Buffalo, he goes, do you know Tim Shaw? I always get a kick out of that. I said, well, you know.
I do. Do you know Tim Shaw? Because I'm concerned, right? Because if they know Tim, oh no, who knows what's going to happen?
That's the best. Steven, thank you so much for being on. Stick around when I say goodbye. I want to talk to you for a few minutes after the show. But Steven, this was a phenomenal show. You honored me for being on here. I love what you did, and I love what you're continuing to do. And everybody out there, seriously, guys, seriously, the Buckland Museum it's a hidden gem. I always talk about hidden gems like the Hull House in Lancaster, New York, but this is someplace that you will learn. You get a chance to see the hardcore, the nuts and bolts, the struggles, not just the ancient stuff, but the struggles of what that Ray, we talk about, what Ray went through when he was first here, and the oppression and the prejudice against him, and how it developed, and how this with the Wiccan religion became more organized. And then even Ray went and he created another tradition, and how some of his teachings, and it's just an amazing place. And Steven, you're my hero, baby. You're still my hero. I love you. Stick around for a couple minutes, and I'll be right with you. Thank you so much. Isn't he great? I'm going to tell you right now, he's one of my favorite people, and I'm so happy to have him on. And he was just on, as a matter of fact, he was just on, like I say, the WitchCon, and he spoke there. We both spoke the same day, and he's just a great guy. Now, guys, I just want to go, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's so wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys honor me so much. And I'll just come right out and say, Mother, Father, God, you were known by 1,000 other names, and we're heal those who are ill, heal those who are oppressed, and give power to those who need direction. So everybody, you've been listening to where else? The Black Cat Lounge here on Facebook Live, coming from my basement next to the transfer station where the cool meet. So guys, thank you so much. We'll see you probably next week Thursday, or next week Tuesday. And all I can say is ciao, babies. Thank you again. Bye-bye. Good night.